Okay, so in today's episode, we're going to meet Jamie Rogozinski, obviously very famous for Wallstreet Bet. So welcome, Jamie. Thanks very much for coming on the show.
Yes, thank you very much for having me.
So obviously NFTs have come into the forefront this year with a huge amount of sort of success in terms of CryptoPunks, etc., making these sort of crazy news stories with crazy amounts of money, etc. Why do you think NFTs have become so popular?
I don't know what made them become popular, but I can definitely see the potential of them, right? We're definitely in a phase where there's a lot of excitement and a lot of money being thrown around it. I myself decided to start dabbling in them a couple months ago, and I can see why they're addicting. I've made a ton of money doing it. I don't think that's going to last necessarily forever. I think that this phase is where it's kind of defining itself, where the value is and what the sticking point. And I could definitely see that there's a ton of potential once the dust settles or once this kind of mania moment subsides. There's some insanely exciting uses of NFTs, practical uses, in addition to the whole, hey, I like this artwork and I own it, which is also a valid use for them.
Could you sort of tell us a bit more about the other sort of use cases, etc.? Games, collectibles, obviously collectibles is probably what's driving it at the moment, but in terms of games and sort of the finance side of things, what other uses can you see for them?
For starters, I just opened my Twitter for the first time today, and the only word I keep seeing everywhere is the word meta. I don't know if you've been able to read up on this today, but I know that for you it's early morning. Facebook has now renamed itself to Meta. That's the new name of the company. Of course, they're targeting metaverses, and this is the future for them. If it was any other company that was doing it, I'd say, well, that's a cute little stunt, but this is Facebook, right? I think they have more users than humans on the planet. So, if they're making a move in this direction, it's definitely going to take a lot of weight to it. So, obviously, this whole concept of going into the metaverse, which is, kind of the lines are blurry between what is a game and what is an alternate, the second life kind of alternate universe. It's also still being defined, but there's a huge NFT component there, right? All these things kind of live on the crypto world. So NFTs, I think, are going to play a huge part in the metaverse. Me personally, I'm kind of excited about like the real world utility and community around them. Having started Wall Street Bets, I know the power of community so much. It's so much to the point where I didn't expect this to be as powerful as things are. And so now I have like utmost faith in community. And so bringing NFTs as a way to create that is something that I'm excited about. Like we actually just released an NFT with Wall Street Bets with this DApp thing, where we're saying, hey, you're gonna get your artwork, you get collected, it's really cool. You get some additional airdrops, that'll be really cool too. You get special access on Discord to different places to hang out. But I want to and also you end up getting additional benefits like higher yield percentage yields for staking, and you can farm and blah blah blah. But also I'm really excited. Most of my day today I've been trying to put together this kick-ass party that we're having in Miami next month, which is exclusive to NFT. Well, there's two types of people that can come in: people that have the NFT, or if they're like, a VIP hotshot celebrity. And at this point, it's looking like the ratio is 50-50, right? Like we have a lot of interest in a lot of really big names that coming down. We have a lot of sponsors that are throwing this thing. Like we're just gonna, wine and dine and really give everyone like a VIP treatment in a way that is just real world, right? It's outside of the metaverse. It's in the real world and be able to make new friends and make connections. And so I'm really drawn to that aspect of it. And I know I think that's the case with Bored Ape Yacht Club and, other communities that are trying to build this thing into a real world uh, connection, right?
Yeah, I guess that's kind of although it's outside the metaverse, a lot of the people attending this party will probably be uploading this sort of thing to social media, so the whole kind of thing will continue to grow. But in terms of it being a sort of a bit of a bubble, there's a lot of concern at the moment. Obviously, crypto in general has kind of perhaps surpassed this fear over the years. But do you think that NFTs is some sort of a bubble and that potentially the risk is
I
quite.
mean, look, are people going to say it's a bubble, and then when this excitement goes away, say that the bubble popped? Yeah, probably. I don't think it's a bubble in the same way that you would think like the tulip mania of the 1800s or the dot-com bubble. It's mechanically different, right? Like NFTs, they don't have enough liquidity for the bubble to pop. Oftentimes bubbles pop with lack of liquidity. They're already not that crazy liquid. The biggest projects that you see are making headlines have 10,000 pieces of artwork on there, right? And on a really hot hour, you'll see like 100 people, and that'll be like the number one NFT if they trade, if 100 NFTs trade hands. That's not a highly liquid market, right? It might be relative to other NFT projects, but it's not in the real world. So it's really hard to pop a bubble that's not behaving like a normal bubble. But there's like a lot of tiny little bubbles, and I think there's a lot of excitement right now. There is the component of truth behind it is right now you can close your eyes, pick an NFT, buy it, and sell it for more money later. That's something that's done. That's something I've been doing. Like whenever I find free time, it's a lot of fun. I'm making tons of money, and I know the music is going to stop at some point, and that's going to be fine. I'm just hoping I'm not left there holding too big of a bag. But in the
Yeah.
meantime, this is great, and it's helping shape what the next round of NFTs is going to look like. So it's in a stage of excitement, and that stage of excitement will subside. But the NFTs are here to stay.
In terms of, so you've mentioned you've done quite well from buying NFTs. Any sort of particular tips on where you find ideas for your NFTs? I know you sort of mentioned that it seems to be a fairly risk-free way of making money in terms of how easy it is to find them right now, but I'm sure that
Yeah, well,
might
I didn't
change.
say. Yeah, I'd be careful to say the word risk free. Let me share a story
Yeah.
with you, right? So, I have people. I think thankfully I have enough connections into this world that I get a lot of hot tips, and I don't know where they get their hot tips from. So where do I get them from? Other people that really know their stuff. But that's not enough for me, right? Like I want to be able to beat this game. And it's crazy that sometimes I'll get a hot tip, I'll buy it, and this thing will be worth 10 times as much. And I like money, don't get me wrong. I do enjoy the profit from it, but I'm unsatisfied because unless I can do that on my own, right? Like select it, then I'm not happy. So I've taken it upon myself to just pretend that I don't know anybody in the space, that I don't have any kind of competitive advantage, and I'm gonna try and pick it on my own. And so I found this like really cool project, and I'm not gonna mention it just uh, because I don't know what the repercussions might be. But it was just a really good project. It looked, had a ton of people in the Discord. The artwork was really great. The utility, the roadmap, the blah blah blah. So I'm like, cool. I picked this one out on my own. This one's going to be a great project. I can't wait to go there. Go into the Discord, and there's a white list, right? So that when they finally do the public sale, you get to buy it before everybody else can. And so you're kind of guaranteed a spot. And so that's when I decided to say, okay, well, I can flex a little bit in here, right? Like I'm not gonna be a normal individual. I'm gonna say I'm Jamie Rogozinski, the guy from Wallstreet Bets. That'll surely get me on the list. And sure enough, it did, right? So I'm like, all right, fine. I still picked this project on my own, so I'm still proud of myself for doing it. Now I'm on this whitelist. And so then they say, all right, on Thursday at like 3 in the morning, Indonesia time or whatever UTC, like I don't have these time zones memorized. And so for me, I don't know if that's going to be on a Friday or on a Wednesday or whatever. I'm driving my back home from work. It's not from work, sorry, from dropping my kids at school. And all of a sudden I get a message on my Discord on my phone, and I open it up, and it's from this NFT Discord, admin or whatever, and it says, "Hey, public sale is now live for the white list people. Get them while you're hot. Hurry up and buy it before." So I'm driving literally one phone. I click the link, get to the website, click the mint button, right? Boom. I see that gas price is like $7. I'm like, sweet, $7. That's super cheap. Don't think twice about it. Submit it. And then I drive home. And then when I get home and I'm looking for my NFTs, turns out that I fell for like the dumbest scam that not even my mom would fall for, right? Like clearly some dude just put on the stupid profile picture of this NFT project and knew that this mint was going to come out, and so said, hurry up and click this link so that you don't have to use both your thumbs to type to get to the address. So I lost that money. So it's not risk free, right? and I do pick several projects where they go up and then they go down, and I should have sold it when it was high and now they're worth nothing. So, it's still, there's definitely still a risk component. But if you want to do a low risk thing, find a good project that has good artwork, that has a transparent, what do you call it, the transparent leaders behind it, which
Mhm.
which just has a good vibe to it. Like, I don't want to put like a number to say Discord has to have this many thousands of people. Like, no, it can have more or fewer. But incidentally, this particular project, after I did buy into it, ended up flopping anyway, so my pick was terrible. So, so just if it's got a good vibe, if you see that there's a lot of excitement, the community is the only thing that actually makes these things go up in value. So it does have to have a strong community with a good vibe. People aren't bitching at each other about the floor price, and people are just encouraging and happy, and it's just like a party. And then you just buy it, and it'll go up in value, and then sell it after it goes up a little bit. If you wait too long, it might go up higher, but it might also just go back lower. So
So in terms that you sort of mentioned before, the Wall Street bets
yeah.
angle heading towards NFTs.
So so we just released an NFT, which is it's called the Diamond Hands NFT. People buy
Mhm.
this thing, and it's really meant to be just kind of this lifelong membership pass into Wall Street bets related stuff, right? That's what it's meant to be, and appropriately named Diamond Hands, right? Like, it's not the type of thing that you'd want to sell. On the roadmap, we've identified several points of utility so that people can feel immediate benefits of owning this thing, right? Such as there's going to be 3 additional airdrops that they're going to get, like a bull, a bear, and an ape in the coming weeks. They're going to get they can claim a free unstoppable domain. So these are like these decentralized domains like .nft, .crypto, .wallet. So they can use that NFT to claim that stuff. If you're into farming, yield farming, you can use that to give you preferential rates. You can use this for access to these real life, events that we're having, and also metaverse events that we're having. The first one that we're doing this big party in Miami. After that, we're probably going to do a casino boat in New York, and after that, who knows where we'll end up going. But yeah, it's going to be this thing where people just own it and they're just part of this particular club. And the incentive isn't with this one. Hey, let this thing be worth millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's not, just don't sell it. Like, you'll be better off having this than you will profiting from its sale.
Yeah. So I guess it's like a kind of a golden ticket to any
Yeah.
uh, good
Yeah,
meetup.
but
I think.
unlike these other projects that come out, right, where they say, "Hey, we want to do all these great things, but we don't have the money for it yet. Buy the NFT, we'll have the money to do it, then we'll do it." Right? Like, these games, for example, say, "Look, we really want to make a game. These are the characters. Buy the characters, and then with the money that you give us, then we're going to hire the developers." Right? That's the formula that 99% of the projects I've seen are using. This is backwards. I've already built the WSB ecosystem. You can already stake your WSB tokens. You can already, there's something right now it's on Binance, but we were going to bridge it over to Ethereum. So with your NFT, you can stake your NFT and get Ethereum version of the WSB. We already have, uh, uh, a funded operation. We've already done events in real life. I just came back from a week in Vegas, and we've already hosted 2 separate parties, one on a yacht and one in another really cool place. So we're already doing these things anyways. This is not a promise that if you do this, then we'll do it. We're already doing it, and that's the big difference with us.
So you mentioned the yield farming side of things, which I know is actually quite a popular topic on my channel. Uh, Not necessarily from me so much, but more people asking me about yield farming. Obviously, yield farming provides a good rate of returns, but also can a lot of the time is like met with untalked about risks. So I was looking at your website earlier with yield farming offering potentially up to sort of 1500% APY, but what's the kind of potential downside of things like
Well, the
that?
potential downside is the token goes to zero. That's your risk with any investment. Like, the types of risks that you have if you invest money into this is a famous story from my dad. He likes to tell it. He's completely risk averse. He's the exact opposite of anything Wall Street bets would ever envision. And he decided to buy Iceland bonds one time. He goes, Iceland's yields they're really really high, and they'll never default on their debt. So he bought it, and I think that I think that thing must have been paying 10% or 15% yield on it. And sure enough, like Iceland defaulted. So like that was the last time he ever took a chance. Those risks exist. If you're staking your tokens, the only identified risk is that everything else. There's no counterparty risk because everything's a smart contract. So if you're doing pairs, if you're doing currency pairs, then you have this like impermanent loss, which I take issue with the categorization of that word. But it's that word exists and people perceive it the way that they do, and I'll just run with it. But it's the same thing. It's the value of your coins went down.
What's your sort of general thoughts on the sort of movement at the moment with crypto? So obviously, sort of a concern I feel as we kind of move into crypto being sort of taken on by more and more people is that it's going to have more and more potential negative effects against the likes of Wall Street, against the likes of the governments.
What do you mean by negative effects? Can you?
Well, I mean, in terms of they get so much. Historically, countries have managed to kind of gain so much influence and power through centralizing finance, and now by sort of having more and more decentralized finance, it kind of perhaps takes away from them some of that power. How much?
No, I mean that's a very black and white way of thinking about it. It's not. That's not the way it works in reality. It does kind of, there's truth to that, but the nuance outweighs the black and white approach to it. So, and I'll use as an example what two countries have already done when it comes to crypto. You have China, right, that kicks out Bitcoin and kicks out all the other things and put their yuan, their digital yuan. And then you have El Salvador that does the exact opposite, which is like, well, whatever, screw normal money. We're just using Bitcoin, right? So here you have countries that are taking polar opposite approaches, but for whatever they think is best for their country, they're adapting to this new world where they have to cohabitate with crypto. So crypto's not going anywhere. That's pretty much a done deal at this point. There's no, it's technologically impossible to get rid of. And so countries are going to have to decide where they want to be. Are they going to be towards the China? Are they going to be towards El Salvador? Most likely they'll be in the middle somewhere. And maybe there's another approach to it that we haven't seen yet. I think a smart country would learn to, instead of resist it, to embrace it, right? To hurry up and figure out that there's a lot of benefits. It's easy for a bureaucracy to look at this thing and just focus on the threats and therefore say, yeah, let's stay away from that. But the smart country is going to say, wait, hold on, this thing settles instantly. That's kind of a cool thing, right? Like counterparty risk is a problem. We learned that 12 years ago in 2008. This thing fixes that problem. So they don't have to use Bitcoin. They can use whatever stable coin they want to use, but they can use the blockchain to do instant settlements and to have things that are collateralized properly. That should be attractive to any government, whether it's centralized or not centralized or dictator or anarchy or whatever. Like that is a good feature. It trades 24 hours a day, right? Like that is another feature that's not going to threaten anybody. They can adopt having markets that are open all day long because closing the markets create gap risks, which are dangerous to the economy. Like China goes out there and says, hey, Evergrande is going to default on their loan and the world's going to crash on a Sunday, right? And the markets are closed. So, people's stops are blown and they have to run around like chickens with their head cut off to try and rebalance their risk portfolio. That stuff is bad, right? Like, so crypto has good things to offer. A smart country is going to say these things without looking at the whole, hey, you're going to replace the US dollar, right? Like, yeah, that's not going to happen either, but they don't have to take that crazy approach. They can just say, hey, crypto does a couple of things really well, and they should just start using some of that and then warming up to the idea and then coexist with it.
Just sort of off this, interesting because I'm in China, so it's kind of interesting to see your thoughts on why China kind of got rid of it, because I have my own
I
opinions,
look,
having lived here
I
and
think that
understood a bit more about the
people
culture.
would be surprised at my answer to that thing. I don't think it's bad, right? I don't agree with it. I'll say that. I don't agree with it. I don't think they should have done it that way. But I don't think that it's a dumb move. I thought it was probably the smartest move that I've seen any other country take, right? We'll see how things play out. But if you think about the idea where you're saying, well, centralized banks and centralized things are bad, like, so meaning the crypto people saying, hey, we need to get away with the Fed and the printing machine and whatever. Let's go to decentralized approach. Trying to figure out how to use decentralized in its favor in a way that they now have like control that no other country could ever dream of having. All right. So if you want to have like the most fine-tuned levers on the way that your economy functions, like they got it. They understood this technology so well. They turned it upside its head. And I think that for China's purposes, it's going to actually be very good, right? China's goals that don't necessarily align with mine. I'm not against them, right? But they're just not my own. But if I were in China's shoes with China's tools and China's ability to do that, I would have done the exact same thing. Like, or yeah, I guess it's hard to tell. I don't know if I would have done, but I could just respect the fact that they did something that was extremely intelligent.
Yeah. A lot of it, I think, is to do with transparency and knowing exactly where every penny, every penny
Absolutely.
is,
No,
and
they
what
have
everyone's doing out here.
control. They have absolute control like no country could ever dream of having. All right. They're talking about replacing cash is never going to happen because the black markets, like China just figured out a way to do that. Like, so it's like I said, I don't agree with it, but it's extremely intelligent. They can shut off money flowing to that side of the street at 3 in the morning, right? Or they can shut off the valve to, I mean, just on the most granular level, and
Yeah.
detect using AI and machine learning stuff to be able to find any type of anomaly that exists. And I don't know, it's clever.
So, in terms of sort of the future, you think for uh, Wall Street Bets token, where can people go to buy Wall Street Bets token? So obviously you've mentioned the uses in terms of being able to attend these sort of parties and things. Is that for the Wall Street Bet token holders or just the NFT diamond hand holders?
It's just for the NFT holders. We might end up extending it to the WSB token holders as well. Although I suspect a lot of them are the same. I think there's a fair amount of overlap. So the WSB token is an actual ecosystem that we're creating. That is, the NFT is meant to be an enhancement of the WSB experience, not the other way around. So WSB is a DApp. It's a DAO, a decentralized organization, where we're trying to merge crypto with traditional finance. So we know things are heading in that direction. You're starting to see, and we just got the Bitcoin ETFs or the Bitcoin futures ETFs. We have these companies that are in the crypto space that are going public regularly on the Nasdaq. Then you have stocks that are becoming tokenized that are popping up on the blockchain, and you're starting to see a lot of money being raised as if it was an IPO on the blockchain. So the lines are blurring, and it's very evident that there's a lot of benefits, just like what I was mentioning about the governments learning from crypto. I think Wall Street can learn a lot of things from crypto at this point, and the other way around. By the way, there's a lot of things that Wall Street does better than crypto, but those things are coming together, and Wall Street Bets is trying to basically lead that effort. And so what we do is we have this token, this governance token. People buy it. They can now help make decisions. They can vote. They can control the wallet with the money that gets generated from the various activities on there as to how to spend it, and to help create tools. So our first kind of iteration of tools that have been coming out have been ETPs. These are exchange traded portfolios. They're basically, it's a token where it's got a basket of goods in it, where you have a distribution of various assets inside of them, which can be both crypto and non-crypto. So we can have an ETP that has, Apple and Tesla and Bitcoin and Ethereum, right, all rolled up into a single token, and then the community can decide to vote on different weights and stuff like that. So one really practical application. I don't know how familiar you might be with American politics at this point, but we're creating I just announced this week in Las Vegas the Nancy Pelosi ETF or the ETP. Nancy Pelosi is a senator who's recently, been under hot water for accusations about having insider knowledge and then benefiting, having her portfolio benefit from that stuff, right? Uh, Regardless of why she's such a great investor or her husband, because then she came out and said it wasn't her, it was her husband. Regardless of what it is, it's undeniable that 104% year over year returns with a 12% drawdown is for a decade is pretty impressive. So we'd love to have some of that action. And we're going to create the ETP technology that can, through oracles, read the disclosures and then automatically rebalance these things, and then we're attaching it to an ETF that trades on the actual stock exchange, so that people without crypto wallets can actually participate too. So that's one. We have a macro hedge is kind of like a stable coin one that's already out. We're doing a crypto one. And so the community comes together. We're also tokenizing stocks, both synthetically, right? So some of the synthetic stocks, meaning they don't actually have the underlying shares. They're just basically prediction markets. And the tokenized version where people can, through the blockchain, purchase these stocks and they can get the dividends, the shareholder rights, the whole nine yards.
Sorry, just so the synthetic stocks don't actually exist, just sort of bets against them. Could you just explain that a little bit more, please?
Yeah, I mean that's the easiest way of explaining them, right? You have a guy that says I'm going to bet that it's going to go up, and you have the other guy that says I bet it's going to go down, and then the stock does what it does, and the person has to pay the other person whatever it is. Like that is the grossly simplified version of it. It is much more sophisticated that it pools. It's using the mirror protocol with Terra, where it creates these liquidity pools for these particular types of assets, and so you have distributed risk as opposed to just individual risk, and yada yada yada. Like it's sophisticated, but it's doing that, right? It's just tracking the number, and it's a smart contract that agrees that one person has to pay the other person, depending on what that thing does.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of basically, if you're owning more tokens, more governance tokens, you get more say or more of a vote in what happens. Is there a way that sort of people are limited in terms of how much they're allowed to purchase, how much say the different
No,
people
there
get?
there isn't, and for the time being, it hasn't been a problem as of now. At this point, like the biggest holders of the token are like the DAO itself, right? It has tokens in the treasury and stuff, and those don't vote. And then yeah, you do have that issue where people with more money can have a louder voice, right? The benefits of having that is, well, you also have a bigger vested interest in it, right? And so, just like with a regular company, if you own more shares, you also have more votes, and that exists there too. But the downside is it does run counter to this democracy, this pure democracy where all people should be equal. Of course, this is assuming that you need to buy tokens in the first place to be able to do this. So, I've been warming up to the idea of limiting it to single, individuals to the best that they can be identified. Everything can be gamed, of course, right? But if you limit it to a per wallet instance, then whoever wants to cheat the system has to do a lot of work for probably very little return, right? Like there's the benefits will not be outweighed by the cost of having to circumvent the system. So I'm open to that idea as well, that everyone should have a similar or equal voice.
Cool. So in terms of the crypto space at the moment, obviously there's a lot of different coins, etc., taking off. Have you got any sort of particular favorites or interests surrounded?
Oh man, I would piss a lot of people off if they saw how I picked my coins. I'm a technical trader. Like I understand all forms of trading. I understand algo trading, fundamental analysis. I understand all of them, and I've dabbled with most of them. But the one that I like the best is the one where you're drawing kind of astrology pictures on the chart, and And so I don't know what coins I'm invested in. Like I know what their tickers are, but it's just because of what the shape of the chart is, and it has nothing to do with like the underlying stuff. Like I'll buy something and then I'll read up on what it is. You know, the other day I no, not the other day, it was a couple months ago that I bought like Arweave. I was like, oh, this chart looks great, you know, and I bought it and whatever. And then I read up on it and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool, right? They're decentralizing storage and blah blah blah. So then I get excited about it afterwards, but it's independent of my investment in it because you have a lot of tokens that have great ideas, but the price itself may not reflect the potential that they have. So you know, it's crazy, and I'm also schizophrenic with it. You know, I just go crazy. One day I'll put it all on just Bitcoin, and other days I'll put it in like 50 different coins, and then I'll put it back to Ethereum. Like I'm not the person to ask about these things.
What are your thoughts? So I saw something earlier or yesterday on Shiba that if you had $1,000 on the 1st of January, it'd now be worth over $1 billion.
Yeah, I
What
mean,
what do you think is going to be the end
yeah.
result with these kind of meme
How
coins?
much? How much would it have been for Bitcoin with that same equation? Right?
Yeah,
How many
probably so.
trillions of dollars would you have?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I know it's going up once again. I just came back from a trip, and so I've been a bit disconnected. I opened my Twitter and I can hear the chatter, and I can see that clearly that's in the news right now. So without having to open up a chart, I can imagine that it's gone up a lot. So I don't really know, and I don't really care, right? Like those when you have people that get around it, like I know about Doge because I've known about it for years, and it's an interesting phenomenon to kind of watch. And here you have this thing which is a joke, and then it becomes really popular, and then it becomes worth a lot of money for a little while. Uh, Markets are supply and demand, and you have these little bursts of demand frenzies, right? Like demand gone viral. Everyone wants to buy it and it goes up. I think there's a mentality in crypto that may have started with the ICO days and maybe it's showing its face again with the NFTs right now. But there's this overall mindset when I talk to people in crypto that they're like talking about rug pulls and they're talking about this really defensive language around where to invest their money. But it's almost as if the expectation of these assets are that they were pump and dumps, right? But it's okay. But the people are okay with that. They don't see that as a bad thing. In fact, it's actually the game, and it's actually a pretty fun game to play. Imagine if you do take $1,000, and then how much did you say it was worth? A billion?
A
Yeah.
bit, just over $1 billion, yeah.
Yeah. So imagine if you take $1,000 and you buy it. Like it's such a great mental exercise to think about it. And then some people that just get on this bandwagon, right? Like it pumps and then it dumps. And some people buy it on the way up and they get super excited, just like I am with Vegas. And I'm pulling the slot machine and I made $500, but I keep pulling it and then the money disappears again. Uh, the money goes back down and then they're like, I should have sold at the top. Okay, I'll try it again next time. And next time I'm going to be smarter and not greedy and I'll sell it at the top. And obviously, it's impossible to sell at the very top. It's always, I sold too early, so I buy back in. And then, now I've lost my money. So it's just kind of like a silly game uh, that people play and they enjoy it and they can make a lot of money with it, right? And there's no they're appreciating that ride. So when I see stuff like Shiba, which is obviously a play on Doge, I don't even care to look at the fundamentals or what the purpose of that coin is. It's clearly a meme thing, and people get excited, and now they're making money, and then that makes them talk about it, and that makes it more exciting, and then more people get into it, and then they move on to some other thing. Like that's cool, I guess. Like I don't like to play that particular type of game, right? I figured out a way to make money my own way, and so I don't dabble in it. And, the last thing that I'll say on that one, and the reason why I said things about Bitcoin, it's like how many people actually buy the $1,000 and hold on to it till today? Surely somebody might have, but most people did not, right? Like I lost, I when Bitcoin started, I mined Bitcoin from my machine, and I had them in a wallet somewhere, and I lost it. I don't know how many I had, it's a couple dozen Bitcoins and I share this without pain in my voice, like because I'm 100% aware that if I had not lost that wallet, I would not still own whatever 20 or 30 bitcoins I had at the time. I know that I would
Yeah.
have sold it over and over by now. And so it's silly for me to just do this kind of mental exercise. And so I know that I think the best strategy in that case would have been to lose the wallet and then find it, right? Like that would have been smart.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I sort of thought this that there's no way I would have been able to sit there and watch it go to that value without having to do something. Probably set.
It takes a tremendous amount of like willpower. I mean, it's there's no precedent for it either. So there's no way they can say, yeah, last time we saw this happen, it actually worked out for that person. There's never been an example in the history of life where something like this happens. So people are left on their own. Like I was watching this documentary about this guy that sold drugs in Europe. It was on Netflix. I think the name of the thing was How to Sell Drugs Online. It was in German.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It was really funny.
It's quite a
And
good
then I
show.
liked it so much. I enjoyed it. I watched they also had a documentary with it, right? And so this guy, sold drugs online and did it with Bitcoin and then he went to jail. And then at the end of the documentary, like they're showing the legal documents that and then it showed in there that he had I don't know how many thousands of bitcoins or whatever. I freeze the computer. I'm like, dude, that guy doesn't realize the fortune he's gonna step out into because I forget the math, but Bitcoin was worth a fraction of what it is today, and I guarantee you he still has his wallet with those things. So that guy may end up being lucky by the time he gets out of jail.
You mentioned your dad being having no interest in any sort of risk, and my dad being much the same. But now everyone I kind of talk to who I never really thought was that into risk, hitting me up all the time about crypto and all these kind of things, which is obviously known to be quite a risky thing. Why has there been a big shift, do you think, in people's mentality towards risk?
It's an excellent question. I love it. I think that you have the wise generation that have seen it all before, and that they'll say, yes, this time it's really not different. And they've seen some stuff in their lives. They're wise for a reason. And they've studied the tulip mania. They studied the bubbles throughout the years, and they've lived through the 1987 crash. And all of my knowledge is really strong in the U.S., so I apologize on that side. But they've studied these things where people get excited about stuff, and then they lose their money because they get greedy. So they see these little Bitcoin kids running around saying, "Oh yes, these kids can enjoy the party right now." Right, but then years and years later, and fortunes later, I can't tell you how many kids that kids meaning 20 years old, were running around these crypto conventions in Las Vegas, like worth tens of millions of dollars. Right, they live with their parents, they don't care to do anything, and they have like astounding amounts of money. And so then it's these wiser generations, which is like they've been dealing with a decade or so of just FOMO, from going from like, nah, I was a hater early on, but people just keep making money. So, it's not going anywhere. And so I think they're finally caving to the fact that this time it might actually be different. Um, I still don't think it changes people's risk profile. I think that it just opens their eyes. I was talking to my brother. He's telling me, dude, I have this lawyer for some of these things that I'm doing, and my lawyer said to me, uh, I won't charge you if you tell me about like cryptocurrency. So literally, he's got a lawyer on retainer just for crypto advice, right? Like, like it's a thing, right? So that's why I think that is.
What do you think is the sort of future for crypto? I know it's quite a vague question, but it's probably quite a common question that people will ask.
I don't know, and I don't pretend to know. I don't pretend to even try to know. There's some writing on the wall in terms of like the trajectory where things are headed. Um, I'm seeing a world in which, well, yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing is, the word crypto is so much. I made the mistake of assuming crypto was just coins, right? And that was my mistake. Crypto is not just coins. So if you take the word crypto, then you have to really narrow it down. If you're talking about crypto coins, I can come up with a prediction of what they'll do. It's going to be some coins will end up surviving, some coins will end up dying off. and then there's going to be this kind of accepted standard for the development of new coins. Talking about like DeFi technologies, I think that that's going to continue to get interconnected into the existing financial system in ways that are going to be just fabulous, right? Rethink the way that markets work, rethink the way liquidity works, rethink the way things are quantified and how they're hedged against. Very sophisticated and extremely cool stuff. We're talking about NFTs and crypto. It's like I believe those things are going to be the ultimate loyalty branding opportunity for companies. I just saw on the Twitter that Disney's coming up with them, right? Like obvious play here for Disney to come up with NFTs for each of their cartoon series, and to create that loyal fan base there. Like that's gonna happen there, and then
Thanks very much for your time, Jamie. Great to have you on the show.
likewise,
And
thank you very much. I had a good
look
time.
forward to hearing some more from you.
Thank you so much. Take care.